When a person is destined to cross your path, you will experience a deep and unique sensation. This emotion is not merely fleeting, it is an inner voice that resonates with the most authentic part of your being, connecting with aspects that often remain hidden in our daily consciousness. The renowned psychologist Carl Jung explored this phenomenon, suggesting that within our psyche there are elements that guide us toward what we truly need in life. If you have ever felt an inexplicable attraction toward someone, it is possible that you are experiencing what Jung called synchronicity. This concept refers to meaningful coincidences where internal and external events align in a non-causal but meaningful way, indicating a deep connection between your inner world and external circumstances. Our conscious mind is responsible for logical thought and reasoning, but it is in the unconscious where the deepest secrets of our identity reside. Jung maintained that the most transcendental decisions of our existence do not emerge solely from rational logic, but from a deeper realm filled with symbols and emotions that, although we do not always fully comprehend them, guide us in life. This facet of ourselves is what responds instinctively when we encounter people or situations that are in tune with our most genuine essence. Have you ever met someone and immediately felt as if you had been waiting for that person your whole life? These are not mere chance occurrences, but moments of synchronicity, an interconnection between the universe and your unconscious. Synchronicity, according to Jung, is neither a random concept nor a simple coincidence. It is the universe responding to your internal vibration, revealing what you truly need to evolve, expand your life, and connect with what is truly meaningful to you. It is important to recognize that these connections are not always revealed immediately. Often, the process of meeting someone destined for you is accompanied by challenges and moments of introspection. Jung emphasized the importance of confronting our shadows, those aspects of ourselves that we prefer to ignore or repress. These shadows are not external forces, but parts of our own psyche that we have relegated to the unconscious and that can manifest in ways we do not fully understand. Curiously, when someone is destined to enter your life, that connection can drive you to confront these shadows. It leads you to question your beliefs about yourself, your limits, your expectations, and what you truly need in a relationship. In this way, these meaningful connections not only enrich your life, but also act as catalysts for self-knowledge and personal growth, guiding you toward a deeper understanding of your true self and fostering an internal transformation that reflects your most authentic essence. Thus, that person who seems to be our destiny not only teaches us about love or connection, but also about self-understanding and self-knowledge. Through that relationship, the unconscious invites us to explore parts of ourselves that we may have been ignoring for a long time. There are moments in life when an experience, a connection, or a person resonates with you so intensely that it seems as if the entire universe had conspired for it to happen. This sensation is not limited to a simple, fleeting joy. It goes much further. It is a deep, intimate perception, as if every part of your being is aligning in perfect harmony. It is not just happiness. It is a silent certainty that you are exactly where you need to be. When something is truly on your path, you do not feel that you must exert exaggerated effort to make it fit. Everything flows naturally. There is no constant struggle to fit in or meet external expectations. Instead, you simply feel free to be yourself. You do not need filters or disguises. That situation or that relationship embraces you exactly as you are, without asking you to become a modified version of yourself. This type of connection leads us to a profound concept developed by Carl Jung, individuation. Although you may never have heard this word, its meaning has transformative power. Jung referred to individuation as the process of removing social masks, those we use to fit in or please, and reconnecting with our purest essence. It is like returning home, but within oneself. And it is precisely in certain significant bonds where this process becomes inevitable. It is not about relationships that demand you change, but those that invite you to explore who you truly are without filters or fear. Not everything will be easy at the start. When a person comes into your life with a greater purpose, not everything may seem harmonious from the first encounter. Sometimes that connection comes accompanied by misunderstandings, differences, or even conflicts. But far from being a warning sign, these challenges are opportunities in disguise. Jung championed the idea that true growth does not occur in comfort, but in the moments that shake us, inviting us to look inward and discover parts of ourselves that perhaps were dormant. It is possible that at some point you felt a strong attraction to someone who seemed ideal. Everything fit at the beginning, but over time, tensions, disagreements, or simply moments when you did not understand what was happening began to arise. In those moments, you might have questioned if that connection made sense or even if you were doing something wrong. However, what Jung proposes to us is that these frictions do not necessarily indicate a mistake, but rather an open door to self-knowledge. Deep connections, the ones that are truly worthwhile, are not built on perfection, but on authenticity. And being authentic also means showing our shadows, our fears, our wounds. It is through the friction of difference, of mutual challenge, that we learn, that strengthens us, that frees us, and that we need to continue evolving. True love in its most genuine form is not a fairy tale where everything fits effortlessly. It is a shared journey of transformation. It is looking at the other and seeing yourself reflected. It is healing together, learning together, building something not based on appearances, but on truths. When someone is truly destined to cross your path, it is not just about sharing laughs or good times. It is an experience that drives you to grow, to heal old wounds, to face your shadows, and to embrace your light. It is a mirror that shows you both what you love and what you still need to reconcile within yourself. That person does not arrive to mold you into their image, but to inspire you to become the best version of yourself, a more complete, freer, more conscious version. It is in that freedom where an authentic connection is born, a relationship with the potential to completely transform your history. Jung left us with a fundamental teaching. Real love is not something we desperately seek outside, but a force we discover when we reconnect with our inner truth. And when we live from that truth, without masks or self-deception, life takes care of putting people in front of us who vibrate on the same frequency. The signs are everywhere, waiting for you to open the eyes of your soul to perceive them. And when you allow yourself to feel, truly feel, that deep connection with another being, that is when everything makes sense. There are encounters that are not mere coincidences. There are people whose presence in your life is not accidental, but profoundly significant. When someone appears on your path with an authentic purpose, you don't just recognize it with your mind, you feel it in every fiber of your body. It is as if all the pieces of your history, even the most painful ones, had been gently guiding you toward that instant. This connection is not ordinary, it is not common, and it is definitely not accidental. It is a kind of silent recognition, a feeling that this person has been linked to you long before you met. This perception of clarity is not about fantasy or imagination, but about an emotional lucidity that is born from the soul. In that moment, everything you have lived acquires a new meaning. The disappointments, the mistakes, the paths that seemed wrong, even the losses, everything seems to have been part of a deep preparation for meeting that connection which awakens parts of you that you did not even know were dormant. It is not about feeling butterflies or experiencing a fleeting attraction. It is something quieter, but infinitely more powerful. It is as if something inside you remembers an ancient language, as if you recognize in that person something that belongs to you, not because it is your property, but because it resonates with your most intimate essence. Jung, in his study of the human soul, spoke precisely about this, the value of paying attention to the signals that come from the unconscious. Because the unconscious does not shout, it whispers. And those signals do not always present themselves as certainties, but as intuitions, as sensations that invite you to explore. Something as seemingly simple as a conversation with that person can open portals to parts of you that you had never explored. A phrase, a look, a shared experience can serve as a catalyst for a deeper understanding. And there you realize that the wounds you carried were not there to stop you, but to prepare you. That everything that hurt in the past had a purpose that is now beginning to reveal itself. But we must be honest, this type of connection does not mean a life without conflicts or a story without challenges. On the contrary, when someone truly destined for you appears, the most probable thing is that they will act as a mirror, and not just any mirror, but one that reflects not only your virtues and strengths, but also your wounds, your insecurities, the parts of you that still need to be integrated. This can be uncomfortable, even unsettling, because it places everything you had avoided seeing right in front of you. Jung expressed it with brutal clarity. It is not about escaping internal shadows, but about looking them in the eye and giving them a place in your history. Only by integrating those hidden parts can we truly evolve, heal, and live fully. Authentic relationships not only connect us with what we are capable of loving in ourselves, but also with what we still do not understand. And it is precisely there, in that unknown zone, where true growth occurs. This dynamic is not limited solely to the bond with that special person. On the contrary, it compels you to observe all other relationships in your life with a more conscious perspective. It is possible that you begin to notice how certain past bonds, although comfortable or familiar, were not aligned with who you truly are. Some connections simply no longer resonate with you, not because those people are negative, but because they have fulfilled their role, and now it is time to follow another path. The unconscious, according to Jung, communicates through the emotions that overwhelm us, those reactions that seem irrational but are actually coded messages. When someone truly significant enters your life, it is common to experience a surge of intense emotions. You might feel exposed, vulnerable, even confused. But that vulnerability is not weakness. It is the entryway to a greater understanding of yourself. And in the midst of that emotional openness, perhaps you wonder why everything feels so overwhelming. The answer lies in what Jung taught. The unconscious does not seek your comfort, it seeks your evolution. It is not afraid to push you into the unknown if that means you will ultimately discover your truth. Every discomfort, every conflict, every doubt is an invitation to illuminate the parts that have been in the shadows for too long. It is natural that when connecting on such a deep level with someone, insecurities or fears that you had buried arise. But it is precisely in that emotional honesty where the type of connection that transforms is forged. Because when you dare to feel, to look at your wounds, and not to hide them, then you are ready for a relationship that not only accompanies your path, but enriches it, elevates it, expands it. When you come into contact with a connection of this level, it is not uncommon to feel more exposed than ever. It is as if that person has direct access to your interior, to your most intimate thoughts, to your deepest emotions. But far from being a threat, this becomes a unique opportunity, because in that emotional openness, you also find space to heal. And there is the key. Destined relationships are not made to avoid pain, but to help you transcend it. That person does not come to save you or complete you, but to remind you that you are already complete. They arrive in your life to accompany you in the process of remembering what has always been, but which perhaps you had forgotten due to adapting to the world's expectations or the wounds of the past. Through that relationship, you begin to see with more clarity what drives you, what limits you, what you must let go of, and what you must embrace more strongly. You realize that you are not here to fulfill a manufactured version of yourself, but to be authentic, even if that means breaking with everything you had taken for granted. The encounter with that person becomes an awakening, a turning point that does not allow you to go back. And no, it is not about idealizing anyone or thinking that a single person has all the answers. Rather, It is about recognizing that there are bonds that have the power to mobilize the deepest part of your soul, acting as catalysts for your personal evolution. That connection is not a goal, it is a path, and on that path, the most important thing is not what you build with the other, but what you rediscover inside you. In many cases, what seemed to be just a relationship ends up being a portal to a more conscious life, more aligned with your essence. You begin to live with more presence, more intention, more truth, because when you are with someone who allows you to be yourself, without judgment, without masks, without needing to pretend, you simply flourish. And that is what makes this experience transformative. Not the fact of finding someone, but the type of person you become as a result of that encounter. That person arrives as a reflection, but also as an impulse to grow, to heal, to awaken. So, if at this moment you feel that someone has arrived in your life with a force you cannot explain, if you feel that their presence touches you in places you didn't even know existed, stop, listen, observe. Maybe it is not a coincidence. Maybe it is the signal you have been waiting for. And now I want to know from you, have you ever experienced such a deep connection? Did you feel that someone came into your life with a purpose that goes beyond the rational? Tell me about it in the comments. Your experience can help others recognize their own signals. And if this content resonated with you, do not forget to share it with whoever you think needs to hear this message, because sometimes a single word can light a lamp in the darkness. Vulnerability, far from being a weakness as many believe, was considered by Carl Jung as one of the fundamental pillars on the path to personal transformation. It is through it that we manage to break the barriers we build over time and begin to access who we truly are beneath the surface. Being vulnerable does not mean giving up or appearing fragile. It means having the courage to show ourselves as we are, without masks, without unnecessary defenses, opening the heart to experiences that can truly change our perception of the world and ourselves. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open ourselves to the possibility of living much deeper, real, and meaningful bonds. We become beings capable of feeling more intensely, of connecting from a genuine place and not from the expectations imposed by society. And that is why the people who are truly aligned with our destiny are not those who simply fit into our life like decorative pieces, but those who awaken dormant parts of our being. They confront us, they make us uncomfortable, but at the same time they invite us to grow, to rediscover facets of ourselves that we thought were forgotten or lost in time. These connections are not about reaching an ideal of perfection, because perfection is a fantasy that only separates us from what is real, but about finding someone with whom we can be completely ourselves without fear of judgment or disapproval. It is there that an emotional alchemy arises, a kind of internal dance where love is not limited to pretty words, but becomes a tool of personal expansion. Two people who accompany each other in their evolution, who support each other mutually while each explores their individual purpose, their most authentic life mission. Along the way, you will inevitably cross paths with people who will have a profound impact on you. Some will elevate you, fill you with energy, invite you to look at life from a new perspective. Others, in contrast, will drain your strength, make you feel confused, or even disconnected from yourself. Recognizing the difference is not always immediate, and that is where the importance of cultivating a solid relationship with yourself comes in, because if you do not really know who you are, it will be almost impossible to discern what drives you forward from what stalls you. Jung emphasized that only from an authentic connection with our inner world can we distinguish between relationships that are nourishing and those that are simply distracting. When you know yourself deeply, when you free yourself from the social expectations that distort your true self, you begin to perceive with greater clarity who or what is in resonance with your life path. A destined connection is not a fairy tale fantasy, nor the promise of a life without conflicts. On the contrary, it is an experience that forces you to look at yourself with new eyes. Sometimes the arrival of that person brings with it a reflection of your shadows, of your unhealed wounds, but it also shows you your potential, your light, and your capacity to love beyond fear. And not only that, these relationships function as catalysts that accelerate your process of self-discovery. They are like mirrors that show you everything you have denied, but also everything you can become. Living with that person brings to light your deepest desires, your most authentic needs, and your most forgotten dreams. Jung reminded us that human existence is not about reaching a static endpoint, but about embarking on a constant journey of transformation. The people who are destined to cross your path do not represent the end of that journey, but the beginning of a new, more conscious, fuller, truer stage. They are the impulse that invites you to look inward, to question yourself, to break old structures, and to rebuild yourself from a place more aligned with your essence. If at this moment you find yourself in the midst of an experience that you cannot completely decipher, you feel there is a connection in your life that moves your soul but also challenges you, do not run away. Observe, feel, reflect. Sometimes what seems like confusion is just the beginning of a great revelation. Pay attention to your intuition, to the signals that your internal world is sending you, because, as Jung rightly said, the unconscious always finds a way to speak to you, whether through your emotions, your dreams, or the people who arrive without warning but with a clear purpose. And when that destined someone appears, you know it, not because everything is perfect, but because even in the midst of the chaos, you feel peace, a deep peace that cannot be explained logically but is lived. So, trust that sensation, that internal calling that invites you to follow the path of your deepest truth, because when you decide to live from authenticity, the universe responds. And now you tell me, have you ever felt a connection so intense that it made you rethink everything? Have you crossed paths with someone who seemed to arrive just when you needed them most? Tell me your story in the comments. Your experience can be that lighthouse another person needs to understand their own path. And if this message touched something in you, share it. You never know who you might be helping just by pressing a button. You begin to understand that love is not something found outside of you, but is cultivated from within. It is not the presence of the other that completes you, but the ability to share your totality with someone who is also walking their own path of discovery. And when both are willing to walk together from authenticity and consciousness, then that relationship becomes a sacred space, a place where the soul can rest, heal, and grow. Jung said that the soul needs to find its way through experiences, symbols, and deep connections, and many times the encounter with a destined person does not happen to fill voids, but to illuminate what you need to see. Sometimes that person confronts you with your oldest wounds. Other times, they simply hold you while you traverse them. But in all cases, they accompany you toward a more conscious and free version of yourself. Therefore, do not rush to label a connection as right or wrong just because of the intensity of what you feel. Ask yourself, what is this relationship showing me? What part of me is awakening or needs attention? Because what truly transforms is not the other, but what that connection awakens within you. The people who are destined to cross your path will do so not to rescue you, but to remind you who you are. And sometimes that memory hurts, but it also liberates. Sometimes it hurts because it makes you see everything you have hidden, but it also heals because it allows you to let go of what you no longer need. And if at this moment you are feeling an intense, complex connection, or one that leaves you with more questions than answers, maybe it is not a mistake. Maybe it is an invitation, a door open to your evolution. And if you decide to go through it with consciousness, with courage, and especially with self-love, you will discover that it was not just about finding someone, but about finding yourself. Because in the end, true destiny is not a person, it is your authenticity, and destined people are only those who help you remember it. Connections with those people who are truly aligned with your path should not drain you or demand that you renounce your essence to maintain them. On the contrary, they should become a space for expansion, where love flows as a result of mutual respect and the recognition of what is already complete in each person. It is not about finding someone to save you or to come and fill your voids, but about sharing the fullness that already exists within you, built from self-knowledge, self-love, and the acceptance of who you are in your deepest self. When a relationship is born from this place of fullness, it becomes a clean mirror that reflects not only your light, but also your evolution. It is in this type of bond where you can allow yourself to grow without fear, without the need to disguise yourself to be accepted. Here, evolution becomes joint. Every step you take forward, every internal discovery, is shared with someone who is also willing to evolve with you, to walk by your side while both explore the unknown of their own soul. Authentic love, far from being a perfect and predictable story, manifests as a dynamic path that is molded by time and adjusts to the changing needs of each person. There are no scripts or guarantees, only a genuine commitment to walk together from honesty and authenticity. Truly significant relationships are not built only in moments of joy, but in the ability to support each other mutually in moments of doubt, in internal storms, in falls, and in rebirths. And true love transforms into a sacred tool of discovery. Through it, a channel is opened not only to the other, but to oneself. Many times, by looking sincerely at the other, we discover parts of ourselves that were dormant or that had been buried under layers of fear or self-demand. That is why it is no coincidence that the relationships that impact us the most are those that confront us, that take us out of comfort to push us toward a new version of ourselves. But this connection does not arrive by chance, nor does it appear when we pursue it most from anxiety or desperate desire. True connections emerge when we are ready, when we have done the internal work, when we no longer seek out of necessity but out of affinity. Jung spoke of the power of integrating all parts of the self, including those we usually reject or ignore. Only when we embrace both our light and our shadows do we begin to emit a frequency that attracts what is truly aligned with us. That internal energy we project is what determines what we attract. It is not about luck or chance, but about resonance. The collective unconscious, as Jung called it, responds to that inner state. If we vibrate from authenticity, we will attract authentic relationships. If we are in tune with who we are, the universe will begin to place people on our path who help us expand even further. The curious thing is that often these destined people do not arrive to offer magical solutions. They are not here to solve our wounds or to calm us with empty promises. They are here to show us, sometimes without saying a word, what still remains to be healed. They are catalysts for transformation, mirrors that reflect our deepest truths, even those we have feared confronting. True connection is not about completing each other mutually, but about accompanying each other from a place of totality. Accepting this is not easy. The journey toward a destined relationship is full of questions, moments when the path darkens, and doubt becomes a companion. But according to Jung, doubt is not an enemy. It is an invitation to look more deeply, not to stay on the surface. Through it, we can strengthen our consciousness and take firmer steps toward our truth. The power of a conscious and aligned relationship lies in the ability of both individuals to stay in the process, not to abandon the journey when challenges arise. Because true love is not just a fleeting emotion, it is a living experience that is built day by day, fed by the willingness to grow, to heal, to hold, and to be held. And that is precisely the alchemy of transforming bonds. They are relationships that not only accompany, but awaken, that not only contain, but liberate, that not only love, but push you toward a higher version of yourself. As Jung reminded us, authentic love has the power to make us more than we believed possible. It reveals us, reconstructs us, and above all, connects us with our deepest purpose. In essence, when someone is truly destined for you, it is not simply a connection with another human being. It is a call from the soul. It is an echo that resonates from within you, reminding you who you are, where you are going, and why. Love, when it is real, does not seek to control or possess, but to accompany and elevate. This connection is not the end of the journey, but the beginning of a deeper process of discovery. And as you walk this path, you will realize that this person has arrived not only to share life with you, but also to help you rediscover your own. As you travel this path toward yourself, you begin to understand that it is not just about finding that person who seems to be destined for you, but about finding yourself in the most intimate part of your being. It is in that inner encounter where you discover something more valuable than any external connection. Genuine peace, authenticity that does not require masks, and the purpose that your soul has been silently searching for. True connections, those that arise from the soul and not from need, are portals to your own expansion. They invite you to grow alongside another being, yes, but above all, they allow you to flourish in your totality. They are bonds that do not ask you to shrink to fit in, but celebrate your greatness, your vulnerability, your shadows, and your light. And that flourishing does not happen overnight. It is a process, a path full of uncomfortable moments, deep revelations, of letting go of old versions of yourself to make way for a more authentic one. Love then ceases to be an ephemeral emotion to become a journey back home, a process of self-knowledge that confronts you, that heals you, that expands you beyond what you believe possible. To love from this place is not to lose yourself in the other, it is to find yourself in the presence of the other. And perhaps that is the most transformative gift that life can give you, recognizing that everything you have searched for outside has always resided within you. That is why today I want to invite you to a deep and honest reflection. Ask yourself, what part of you have you been ignoring? What aspects of your soul have you silenced to be accepted? Which relationships are you sustaining from fear and not from love? And above all, what would happen if you chose to live from your deepest truth, without hiding, without negotiating your essence? The universe always responds when you decide to align with yourself. The right people, the encounters that transform, the experiences that elevate you, all of that arrives when you are ready to receive it. Because nothing that is truly destined for you needs to be forced. It flows, it arrives, it accompanies. This is the moment to open yourself to new possibilities, to stop looking outside seeking validation and start looking within to find direction. If something in this message resonated in your heart, take it as a sign. The journey toward your authenticity is calling you, and only you can take that first step. Are you willing to begin it? Do you dare to look at yourself with more compassionate and brave eyes? Leave your thoughts, your sensations, what this message awakened in you, below. Your voice matters too. And if you feel this can touch someone else's heart, share it. Let's together make this space a community of transformation where self-knowledge and self-love are the pillars of a more conscious life. Thank you for being here, for being part of this movement toward the essential. Every time you comment, share, or simply allow yourself to feel, you are planting seeds of change. And always remember, the true path does not begin outside, it begins within you.